Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast. It is a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. I'd like to extend my gratitude in you listening to this podcast. It means everything to me, and I hope it is clear that this subject matter is so important to me. I care about our people, our future, and making a positive change in this nation.
This episode is powered by Poddex.
Do you find it difficult to come up with content ideas for your podcast? Or perhaps you've gotten stuck during an interview with a guest where you just have nothing more to ask? Try Poddex today. Poddex is the best all-in-one podcast idea generation tool. You get everything from episode ideas to interesting conversation starters for interviews, engaging discussions for your live streams, and even social media content ideas. With this tool, you don't have to spend weeks trying to come up with content for an episode or unique questions for your guests. Just shuffle the cards, pick one at random, hit the record button, and get started. Now you can make better content, have more fun while you're at it, and get your viral moment. All with Poddex. Head over to poddex.com and use code C4C. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast. This episode is especially for the content creators of color. Today I want to bring to your attention a news story that you may not have heard so much about, but definitely needs to garner our attention. It is the case about Amir Locke. It is a police shooting case from Minneapolis where the police executed a no-knock warrant and it led to the death of Amir Locke. So, wanted to give a high level of what happened on the incident and where the case stands now. A lot of updates have occurred since his death, and I want to bring this to your attention to keep everybody up to speed. We're seeing some similarities to the Breonna Taylor matter, and so definitely want everyone to be aware of this particular case. So the incident occurred on February the 2nd. So here's what we know so far. The Minneapolis SWAT officers stormed into the Bolero apartments on February 2nd, yelling search warrant without knocking. And this was captured on the police body camera. Locke was asleep on a couch and underneath a blanket. He stirred after an officer kicked the couch. He had a gun in his right hand, and the video footage shows his hand on the gun. And then he is shot within seconds. So we learned that Amir Locke, who was 22, was sleeping at his cousin's home, and he was not the subject of the police investigation, and he was not named in this warrant. He did have a firearm. Locke's family states that he did have a permit to carry, and he had no criminal record. The Minneapolis Police Department said in its initial news release that Locke pointed the gun in the direction of the officers. However, in the body camera footage, it does not appear that the gun is ever pointed at officers, but it is rather pointed toward the floor. Locke also does not appear to have his finger on the trigger. So if you see the video, which is out on social media and YouTube and such, it's really a short matter of time. SWAT team comes to the door. They have a key. They don't knock, so because it's a no-knock warrant being executed, and they enter. They yell out, and they yell, and and he's seen kind of moving under the blanket, and the next thing you know, you see his hand on a gun. However, it's not like he raises his body up and turns. That doesn't happen. You just see this hand move over a gun. I guess like a first reaction to what's that noise? Let me grab the gun that's right here. And then within seconds, he's shot dead. And then actually, I'm looking at an article here. It says that the officers were in the apartment less than 10 seconds before he was shot. So in that time, they did announce themselves, but, you know, he's literally shot in less than 10 seconds. However, his name was not on the warrant. They were not there to arrest him. He was not the intended party. Minneapolis police says he was hit 3 times, twice in the chest and once in the wrist. The Hennepin County medical examiner ruled that he did die of multiple gunshot wounds. So at the press conference, the Minneapolis Police Department state that they had to make a split-second decision to assess the circumstances to determine whether they felt there was a articulatable threat and that the threat was of imminent harm and great bodily harm or death, and that he needed to take action right then to protect himself and his partners. And they are speaking about the officer that actually pulled the trigger. No charges have been filed as far as the officer who fired the shot that ended Locke's life. So that's a little bit about the actual event. Since this incident, there have been protests and renewed. So that's a little bit about the actual event. Since the event, there have been protests in the city, and Locke's death has also re-energized a national debate about banning no-knock warrants, and local activists have called for the firing of the officer who fired the fatal shots, and also for the resignations of the mayor and the interim police chief, Amelia Huffman. And so Mayor Jacob Frey could face an ethics review after activists and clergy members delivered several complaints to the city hall, raising concerns over the handling of this matter. The organizers, this article from the Star Tribune states that they collected over 1,300 signatures for a resident's complaint. They raised concerns over Mayor Jacob Frey's handling of the killing, his campaign's false claim that he had banned no-knock warrants, and a desire to see discipline for the officers involved in the search that led to Locke's death. Now, the mayor did respond this week, and this is according to Mother Jones. He responded by placing a temporary moratorium on no-knock warrants, except for dangerous scenarios such as hostage situations, and it's noted that he previously tried to reform the use of these warrants in 2020. So it seems that this tragic death of Amir Locke has brought the focus back on no-knock warrants. Many African Americans have suffered dire consequences due to these no-knock warrants. I mean, he wasn't the subject of this warrant and he lost his life. You know, people can look at the facts of this case and say, oh, well, he had his hand on the gun. But does that is that a justified threat when he was not the subject of the threat? I mean, we will have to see how this plays out and see if the concerns raised with the ethics committee and such will garner any change, because that's an interesting question. Is that a significant threat? If I'm asleep at my cousin or my friend's house and I have a gun because I have a permit to carry and I have my gun on my person and I'm asleep and someone storms in the door, yelling and screaming, your first reaction may be to grab your gun. However, in less than 10 seconds before identities can be verified, you're killed. I don't know if that is justified. I don't know if that's a legitimate threat. I don't know. So I really want to follow up and, say I will be staying on this case to see what develops with this. But it just leads to a lot of questions, and it's just really tragic what happened. I do want to add some humanity to the story, as we did with some other stories, and talk about who Amir Locke was as a person. And Amir Locke was a 22-year-old aspiring musician. He was born in the St. Paul suburb of Maplewood. His mother is Karen Wells. She said he grew up in the suburbs where he played basketball in middle school, and he even tried out for the high school football team. She said his true passion was music. He had a natural talent, and he enjoyed hip-hop. He enjoyed speaking about the realities of what was going on in the neighborhood. He wanted to work with young people. And his mother said he had a big heart. The family of Amir Locke ultimately want for no-knock warrants to be banned. And so they are working with Benjamin Crump and the organizers, collecting signatures and trying to get some changes made in Minneapolis. Definitely very compelling story. I will keep you guys informed, and I thank you guys for listening. At this time, we're going to go ahead and conclude the episode. We greatly appreciate you listening. We invite you to follow us on social media. On Instagram, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. On Twitter, it is Woke by. On Facebook, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. We also have the new website up, www.wokebyaccident.net. Please check us out, and also follow us on all of your favorite streaming platforms, and please leave a review and share feedback. You can also reach out by Gmail, wokebyaccident@gmail.com. And every time you listen, we appreciate it so much. Thank you for listening, and take care.